Lacrosse. Why is lacrosse spectacular? The thrilling game of lacrosse comes from one of the oldest competitive field sports in the world. Europeans arriving in North America adapted lacrosse from a game that First Nations native people played in various forms for centuries. Lacrosse is the most fast field game there is, and one of the most challenging and exciting to play and watch. The sport has much in common with three extremely popular sports: soccer, hockey, and basketball. Yet, for various reasons, for much of the 20th century, only the relatively small number of athletes in a few regions played lacrosse. However, the sport's popularity is booming, and lacrosse is entering the mainstream of sports today, especially as a youth sport. Where did lacrosse begin? Experts think lacrosse developed among the Algonquin tribes in St. Lawrence River Valley in present-day Canada and New York. In time, this game spread far to the west and south. Different tribes got the game different names, but the Algonquin name for lacrosse was Bagataway. The original form of the game was very different from the version of lacrosse that is played today. The field of players could cover miles on each side, rarely housed fewer than 100 players, sometimes as much as 1,000. Still, most tribes used curved sticks that were 3 to 4 feet long, with a net attached to the pass, carry and shoot a ball made of stuffed deerskin. First Nations people consider lacrosse a sacred right way over by the gods, and many tribes call it the Creator's game. They use the game to untangle and strengthen young men, to settle major tribal disputes and conflicts, and to reinforce tribal fellowships. In 1834, a local tribe played the demonstration match for a predominantly white Canadian audience at a racecourse in Montreal, Quebec. The game took hold in the region, and long before there were many white and First Nations lacrosse clubs in Canada, in 1860, a Montreal dentist named George Beers wrote a rulebook of the game. Because his rules are the foundation of the rules today, Beers is called the father of modern lacrosse. Beers addressed the size of the stick, ball, and goal, as well as the number of players and the dimensions of the playing field. The game took over the United States in the 1670s. Lacrosse clubs sprang up in New York City, Baltimore, Boston, Philadelphia, and Newport, Rhode Island. Male students play lacrosse in private schools and elite colleges throughout the Northeast. And Rosa Bell Sinclair, a member of the first international Scottish team, introduced women's lacrosse. Jubreen School in Baltimore. Only teams of these schools played the game. For this reason, people consider lacrosse a gentleman's sport, one that was played for the sake of the game, and not for paying audiences, much less advisors. As a result, many talented athletes who might have helped the sport grow had no interest in it. Instead, they gravitated toward sports where they might find fame and fortune. Another reason lacrosse died in the United States was a lack of equipment, including sticks or crosses. Until the 1970s, only certain Mohawk craftsmen in Ontario, Canada made crosses. The sport was unpopular in the United States, so there were a little demand for sporting goods manufacturers and mass product sticks the way they did baseball gloves and basketballs. When cheaper sticks made of lightweight metal hit the market in the 1970s, lacrosse began to really take off in the United States. A sport for everyone. Today, men, women, boys, and girls all over the world enjoy lacrosse. In iceless hockey rinks, some teams play an indoor version of the game called box lacrosse. Teams typically play traditional outdoor lacrosse tournaments in football stadiums. There are many different levels of lacrosse. The Federation of International Lacrosse includes nations from across the globe and holds men and women's world championship tournaments. Every 4 years in North America, there are two professional level leagues. Major League Lacrosse represents outdoor lacrosse, consisting of 8 teams, and the National Lacrosse League represents the indoor box lacrosse league, consisting of 9 teams. Men's and women's teams play lacrosse competitively in college throughout the United States and Canada. Although lacrosse has long been hugely popular and competitive in the northeastern colleges, interest in is rapidly spreading, and it is now a significant college sport. In the United States, lacrosse is growing most rapidly at the youth level, as well as in high schools, as the game is embraced by youth across the country. Its popularity at the college and professional levels will certainly increase outdoor North America. There have always been small groups of dedicated lacrosse existence in Australia and England, northern England, especially the area around the large city of Manchester. They produce some of the finest lacrosse players ever. Over the last 30 years, lacrosse has been growing in popularity throughout Europe and East Asia and all over the globe. Lacrosse may one day become the next huge international sport. Basic rules of play. Lacrosse shares many aspects with soccer, hockey, and basketball, but lacrosse is definitely unique. The most distinctive feature of lacrosse is the crosse itself. The stick every player uses to cradle, catch, pass, and shoot the lacrosse ball, cradling back and forth, motion of a crosshead that keeps the ball in place while a player runs. No one but the goalie may touch the ball with his or her hands. In that way, the rules are the same as those of soccer. The shot is a cross in between 2 and 5 feet long, and at the top is a triangular head that is fitted with a net. The goalkeeper's cross head is larger. The goal is 6 feet high and 6 feet across the ball in rubber and about 8 inches in circumference. In men's lacrosse, the field is 110 yards long and 60 yards wide. There is a midfield line marked with an X at the center. There are two opposing players face off at the start of every period. At the blow of a whistle, they each try to get control of the ball. Each team has 10 players, 3 attackers who stay on the opposing team's half on the field, 3 defenders who stay on the side of the field, 3 midfielders who control the entire field, and a goalkeeper. The object of the game is to score most goals by hurling or bouncing the ball into the opponent's net. After a face-off, the player with the ball runs toward the other team's end of the field. That player can try to get the ball into the goal or pass the ball to an attacker on his or her who is in a good position to score. The defensive players on the other team try to defend their goals and get the ball away from the attacking team. To get the ball, defensive players can poke the ball carrier with a stick or slap his or her stick to make a back ball fly over the carrier's cross. There are no tie games in lacrosse. Sudden death overtime settlements settle a tied match. The playing time is 1 hour. Men's lacrosse is separated into 4 15-minute quarters. Women's lacrosse is separated into 2 halves. Other differences between men's and women's lacrosse are zoning of the field and the number of players. In women's lacrosse, there are 12 players on the field for each side instead of 10. Women's lacrosse also allows much less physical contact than the men's game. What all kinds of lacrosse share: the speed, the running, maneuvering, and complex teamwork of the players is breathtaking to behold. The shots of an goal can easily extend 100 miles per hour. Lacrosse heroes: legendary goalkeeper Oren R. Lyons grew up in Onondaga Reservation and went to do important work of the lacrosse field. Oren played for Syracuse University and he was named All-American Athlete there in 1957. It was after his boarding career, though, that he began his most important work. Today, his spiritual leader called Faith Keeper of the Onondaga, one of the 6 nations of Inclusive Confederacy. His humanitarian efforts that helped individuals, people around the world. Considered one of the football's all-time great players, Jim Brown was introduced in the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1971. Jim's first love, however, was lacrosse, and many consider him America's greatest ever player in sport, raised in Manhattan, New York. On Long Island, an area with a long lacrosse culture, Jim excelled in the sport at Syracuse University and always saw the game as an ultimate outlet for his athleticism. Like Jim Brown and Oren Lyons Jr., Gary Gate played for Syracuse University. Gary, along with his twin brother Paul, broke almost every collegiate record there was to break. The two forever changed lacrosse play in terms of speed and trick ball handling. Gary went on a successful career in both the National Lacrosse League and the Major League Lacrosse, and he remains Syracuse's all-time leading goal scorer. He currently coaches the women's lacrosse team there. Jen Adams is the head coach of women's team in Loyola University in Maryland. Before this young Australian came to America and shattered many records in women's lacrosse. She is famous for her speed and agility on the field, and for his great team play and sportsmanship. Jen scored a record 445 goal points playing for the University of Maryland Terrapins, and in 2009 she played for the Australian team at the Women's Lacrosse World Cup. A traditional game for the future. For hundreds of years, First Nations people played the traditional game that became known as lacrosse. This is deeply spiritual and political tradition for many tribes. Today, lacrosse lives on for people all around the world. Lacrosse is a fast-growing sport that more and more people are embracing. The speed of the game, the unique challenges, and the interactive team play make it simply irresistible for young athletes. And as a result, youth clubs are popping up across North America. Who knows where or when the next Jen Adams or Jim Brown will show up in the lacrosse world.